Okay, GCSE question of the week, week 20, foundation probability question. So we've got a bag, contains some red, blue and white counters. The probability of getting red is 1/3 and the ratio of blue to white is 2:3. There are 18 white counters in the bag. What's the probability of getting a blue counter from the bag? Okay, well, if we're going to work out the probability of getting blue, what do we need to know? We need to know the number of blue counters and the total number of all the counters in the bag. So this is one of those questions where we perhaps need to work backwards. This is the first statement where we've got an actual number of counters. And it tells us there are 18 white counters in the bag. And we know the blue to white ratio is 2:3. So let's write that down. We've got 2:3 is blue to white. And we also know there are 18 white counters in the bag. So really we want to multiply this ratio up so we've got something to 18. So what do we do to that 3 to get 18? Well, it's multiply by 6. 3 times 6 is 18. So we can do the same on this side. We multiply the 2 by 6. We're going to get 12 blue counters. So there are 12 blue counters to every white counter. Or in other words, we've got 12 plus 18 equals 30 blue and white. Okay, what next? The probability of getting a red counter is 1/3. So probability red equals 1/3. Well, that means that 1/3 of the counters must be red, doesn't it? That means that 1 is red out of a total of 3. So 1/3 of the counters are red. Okay, and we know that if 1/3 of the counters are red, 1/3 red, that means that 2/3 must be blue and white. Right, and we know that 30 are blue and white, so 30 counters must equal 2/3 of the total in the bag, because 30 counters are blue and white, and 2/3 of the counters in the bag are blue and white. So 30 counters is worth 2/3. So 1/3 of the counters in the bag, 1/3 of counters must be half of 30, because 30 is 2/3, so 1/3 is going to be half of that. 1/3 of the counters must be 15. Okay, so if 1/3 is 15, then there must be 45 counters in the bag. 45 in total in the bag, and how many of those are blue? Well, 12 of those are blue. We found that out here. So what's the probability? The probability blue is the number of blue counters in the bag, which is 12, over the total number of counters in the bag, which is 45. So the probability blue is 12/45. And can we simplify that ratio down? I think we can. We can divide the numerator and the denominator by 3. That's going to give us 12 divided by 3 is 4. 45 divided by 3 is 15. So probability of blue is, as its simplest fraction, 4/15. Okay, next question. This could appear on foundation or higher. Find the size of angle Y. Okay, well, I don't know about you, but the first thing I notice is that this angle is a corresponding angle with this angle. So those two angles must be the same, and that's going to help us because we can already write an equation that says 5x plus 10 must be equal to 2x plus 52. And that's good because we can solve that. So only got x's in, we can solve for x, find out what x is. Okay, alright, so what are we going to do? Let's subtract 2x from both sides. It's going to give me 3x plus 10 equals 52. And then let's subtract 10 from both sides. It's going to give me 3x equals 42. And then we can divide both sides by 3 to leave us with x equals 14. So x is 14. Okay, now we notice that we've got this angle and this angle and this angle inside that triangle, and we know that the sum of the interior angles of a triangle must equal 180. So we can say that 2x plus 52 plus 3x plus y must equal 180 degrees. But we've just worked out what x is, so let's rewrite that with substituting in x equals 14. That's going to give us 14 times 2, which is 28, plus 52, plus 3x, well that's 3 times 14, which is 42, plus y equals 180. So that gives me 28 plus 52, that's 80, plus 42, that's 122, plus y equals 180. And then we can subtract 122 from both sides, and that leaves us with y equals 58. So we're done. Y equals 58, and it's an angle, isn't it? So 58 degrees. Y equals 58 degrees. Okay, let's have a look at the higher tier question. So another probability question. A spinner can land on either a 10, a 20 or 30. So it can either land on 10, 20 or 30. Okay, so it has to land on 10, 20 or 30. The table shows the probability that it lands on each value. Probability of 10 is 2x plus 0.1, probability of 20 is 3x, subtract 0.3, and probability of 30 is x. The spinner is spun twice. Find the probability that the total scored from the two spins is exactly 40. Okay, well, the key thing here is I don't know what x is. All of those expressions have got x in, and there's no way from that information at the bottom working out what x is. Okay, and the key thing is what we said right at the start. Spinner has to land on one of those three options. So what's the probability that it lands on a 10 or a 20 or a 30? Well, that's certain. Okay, these events are mutually exclusive, so the total probability that it lands on a 10 or a 20 or a 30 have to equal 1. And that's the key thing here. Okay, we can say that 2x plus 0.1, that probability, plus 3x minus 0.3, that probability, plus x, those three probabilities have to sum to 1. Okay, this is really the OR rule, isn't it? We've got the probability of a 10, or the probability of a 20, or the probability of a 30, have to add up to 1. So we can go ahead and solve this. We've got 2x plus 3x plus x, and make that 6x on the left hand side, and we've got 0.1 subtract 0.3 on the left hand side, so 0.1 minus 0.3, that's going to be minus 0.2, that equals 1. We can add 0.2 to both sides, that's going to give 6x equals 1.2. Therefore x, we divide both sides by 6, has got to equal 0.2. Okay, 1.2 divided by 6, that's going to give us 0.2. Alright, so now we know x, we can go back and fill in some values in the table. I think actually we need oh yeah, we do need them all. Okay, so the probability of getting a 10, well, x is 0.2 and the probability is 2x plus 0.1. So that's 2 lots of 0.2, that's 0.4 plus 0.1, that's 0.5. Probability getting a 20, it's 3x minus 0.3, that's 0.6, subtract 0.3, that's 0.3. And the probability of 30 is just x, that's 0.2. Okay, now if we've done things right, fingers crossed those three probabilities should sum to 1. 0.5 plus 0.3 plus 0.2, yeah, that's good. Okay, those add up to 1. Okay, because it has to, total of those probabilities, certainty. Okay, it's got to give a 10 or a 20 or a 30. Right, what's the question? Find the probability that the total scored from the two spins is exactly 40. Well, how could we get a 40? We could get a 10 and a 30 for a start. Okay, so what's the probability of getting a 10 and then a 30? Well, we have to get a 10, which is 0.5, and then a 30. This is our AND rule, we're going to multiply, so we want 0.5 times 0.2. Okay, right, 2 5s are 10. We want 2 digits after the decimal point. We want 0.1. 0, if you like. How else could we get a 40? Well, we could roll a 30 and then a 10. That's not the same combination. We could get the 30 first, then the 10. What are we going to do? We're going to want 0.2 times 0.5. Just worked that out already. That's going to give us another 0.1. How else could we roll a 40? The total being 40. We could roll a 20 and a 20. So probability getting to 20 and then a 20 is 0.3 squared. 0.3 times 0.3. 3 3s are 9. We want 2 digits after the decimal point. 0.09. Okay, and are there any other ways that we could get a total of 40? Don't think so. 10 and then a 30. 30 and then a 10. 20 and then a 20, that's it. Okay, so probability is 0.1, or we could roll in the second way, 0.1, or we could roll in the third way, 0.09, 0.09, we want the oral. Okay, we've got to add these three up. So the sum of those three probabilities is 0.1 plus 0.1 plus 0.09, and make that 0.29. Okay, so probability total 40 equals 0.29. Done. Okay, hopefully you paused those, had a go first, then tried them out, then checked. If you got those answers, fantastic, well done.